What's up, everybody? It is good to be back here at the desk of Lombardi Time Brews. It has been a little bit of time, been about nearly 3 weeks off. And I know, I've been told by everyone around me that I don't sound different in my head. I still sound a little different, but very glad that you could join me here today. Obviously, in the last 3 weeks, the Packers have been mighty busy. This is the busy time of the offseason. And then, of course, draft stuff is ramping up more and more with each passing day. If I could just very quick, I'm going to plug one thing. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I am now putting out mock drafts every day on Twitter, at least once a day. So if you're on Twitter, you have any interest, just follow me at LTB Packers Pod and see all the mock drafts there. So Dan, good to see you. Thank you for being here. And hey, I just want to say before we dive into Packer stuff, one very sincere thank you. I did get a lot of well wishes over the last couple of weeks. Some people just checking in. I was honestly terrified that I was going to disappear for a little bit and then everyone was just going to leave and I was going to have to rebuild from scratch, but didn't happen, and I'm incredibly thankful for it. So thank you so much, everybody out there. Yeah, Dan saying a few things happened while you were gone. You ain't kidding, Dan. Between free agency, especially, I mean, some rather marquee releases as well. The Packers have been busy. And the thing is, too, there's a rather lengthy to-do list yet to go. So I do want to start off just by giving some of my thoughts on free agency. I'm not going to overly dwell on this because, as we know, it happened a little while ago already, right? So I know a lot of news is already out there. I'm not going to dwell on this tremendously, but just some quick hit thoughts on each individual. That was really of a marquee event in the last couple of weeks. Number one, I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs, the new starting running back of the Green Bay Packers. One thing I do want to say, it's already floating around there. I've seen it on multiple social channels now that Josh Jacobs was with some streamer today and he hooked up an ATV to a dirt bike, and all of these aggregator accounts that don't even really report news, they just steal crap, reported that Josh Jacobs was on the dirt bike and it flipped over. Yeah, no, Josh Jacobs was driving the ATV and it didn't flip at all. So if you see any headlines in regards to the new Packers running back like flipping over in a dirt, yeah, no, it didn't happen. So just no, he's safe and sound. In terms of his fit with the Packers, I got to tell you, I'm really excited about this. And I think it's incredibly indicative of, the Packers now. Yes, Aaron Jones is gone. We'll get to that in a minute. But now they bring in Josh Jacobs on a contract, 4 years, $48 million, 12.5 guaranteed. I got to tell you that 4 years for 48, that's a little overinflated from first appearance because it is only 12.5 guaranteed. Packers do have some very easy outs, even in the early portion of the contract, if they wish to get out. But I got to tell you, bringing in Josh Jacobs, letting go Aaron Jones shows me that Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur truly have wanted and pursued a bigger back. And even in the last couple of years, their run patterns kind of reflective. The Packers run plays are getting a little bit more to the interior, less kicking it way outside zone like they used to do a lot more often. And they want some big, durable back. And Josh Jacobs is that. In conjunction with that, I think a lot of us figured at the end of the season that, all right, well, they got Aaron Jones on a big deal. A.J. Dillon's a free agent. If one of those is going to go, it's probably going to be A.J. Dillon. We were wrong as A.J. Dillon re-signed with the Packers on a one-year contract and a bargain of a deal as well. Supposedly, he turned down more monetary offers from other places, but A.J. Dillon has the opportunity to make about $3 million in cash while only being like $1.5 million on the books cap-wise. That's a really, really good thing. The other thing that I really like about bringing A.J. Dillon back is it should not affect the Packers' plans for the draft at all. It really shouldn't. It's only a one-year deal. I still think the Packers are going to be looking for a longer-term running mate for Josh Jacobs. And the thing is, too, I know others have pointed it out. I'm hard-pressed to believe that they're going to cut A.J. Dillon after bringing it out. But yeah, it's true. They can cut him in training camp, and they have no cap repercussions whatsoever. So very, very, about as low risk as it can possibly get to bring A.J. Dillon back. I still think we're going to see the Packers pick a running back probably somewhere in rounds 2 through 5 to potentially be Josh Jacobs' long-term running mate. And then the other major acquisition, Xavier McKinney. They actually did it. How often is it that the Green Bay Packers actually do the thing that everyone wants them to do? They finally did it this time. And McKinney is such a perfect fit for the defense. I know I wrote about this in the channel and I put up a big long post. Look, if you're looking for a post safety, as new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley likes to call him, it's McKinney. It's a guy who has the range to cover deep. One of the highest rated coverage safeties according to PFF. Also, one of the best tackling safeties according to PFF. Exactly what the Green Bay Packers needed in their secondary, a steadying presence in every single regard. And I got to tell you too, he's a man after my heart, because at his introductory press conference in Green Bay, he said, yeah, last year I had 6 or 7 missed tackles, and I got to work on getting that lower. Y'all know how much I quote missed tackle rate, because it is a major vex of mine. And Xavier McKinney, I love that about you, my friend. So let's dive into a couple of the comments here before I get back on a tangent. Just want to say hi to everybody. Steve, we love you. Hi, oh, thank you, Steve. Love you too, man. Chris Hand is here. Hey, John. Hey, everyone. Patrice, welcome back, my friend John. Thank you, Patrice. And thank you for the well wishes as well. Chris Hand saying, Xavier asking for Bart's number is like Watson asking Sherlock for his private book of knowledge or something. Yeah, in case you didn't see it, it was right after Xavier McKinney signed. It was like the next morning at like 8 in. He put out a tweet saying, yeah, what number should I be in Green Bay? I'm kind of thinking 15. And then all of the comments were like, welcome to Green Bay. You can't be 15. That's Bart's. And then he put out another tweet saying, my bad. It was really good. It was nice to wake up to that day. Rocket Knees saying JJ is an every down back like Amon Green. Yep, for sure. As much as we miss Jones, he wasn't that style back. AJ Dillon, he is an average back with some decent moments. He wasn't that power back like we envisioned. I would agree. I think ultimately, after spending a second round pick on AJ Dillon, you do have to, after 4 years, as popular as he is with the fan base, sure. But from a pure production standpoint, you probably are underwhelmed given the level of production that he gave you, especially as Aaron Jones missed time. AJ Dillon was just not able to become that feature back like someone of his build you'd think would be. And I would agree too. Aaron Jones, there is an age factor there. And I'll get to this when I talk specifically about him in a minute, but also the durability. I don't think the Packers, Brian Gutekunst and company, were feeling as though projecting forward they liked Aaron Jones's chances of being remarkably durable over the next season plus. And all of that had to factor into the decision. Like you mentioned, though, Josh Jacobs is very much an every down back, and he's probably going to be treated as such. I just think in the draft, they're still going to seek out some kind of future running mate. In terms of AJ Dillon, I think one radically underrated aspect of his game for a long time now has actually been pass protection. He's far and away better at it this past season than Aaron Jones was, and Jones has gotten massively better over the span of his career. But AJ Dillon really has become one of the better pass pro backs in the league, and that's another reason why I really liked bringing him back. Financially, there's no real risk, and then 2, you've got a guy who knows the system inside and out, can be your pass pro back when Jacobs does need a spell. I think it was just a very smart move to bring him back with really no downside. But yeah, on the whole, I'd agree. Over the last 4 years, second round pick, the investment level in AJ Dillon, not exactly overwhelmed by what he's giving you on the field. That I completely understand and agree with. So let me talk about Aaron Jones a little bit. Of course, 29 years old, turning 30. He had, going into the season, a $17 million cap number, one of the highest numbers in the league for any running back. And he's missed games. He's missed games almost every year for the last stretch of time. I really think here what we've seen is the Packers just wanting to move on. And I got to say, I don't really know about that because, yes, $17 million cap number, $12 million of which is now dead on the cap. They opened up $5.5 million by moving on from Aaron Jones. And as I tweeted the day that it happened, and it was pretty emotional, but still, I really hope that they've got something in mind with that $5.5 million. If you're going to let go of a player of Aaron Jones's caliber to basically get $5 million, the gain is not tremendous there. There is a financial world, absolutely, where they could have kept Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs. And the fact that they didn't really tells me that they just straight up wanted to move on. So, John, hello, John Rocker, nice to see you here. Jim says he still misses Aaron Jones. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Welcome back, buddy, from the Granicers. Well, thank you, John. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Another player that I wanted to talk about in terms of free agency and his return, Keyshawn Nixon, being rewarded with a 3-year, $18 million contract, which I think, frankly, a lot of people who follow financials in the NFL were kind of looking at that and going, that's a bit higher than we expected Keyshawn Nixon to be at. By all accounts, PFF grades, a lot of advanced metrics, Keyshawn Nixon this last year was an average slot corner. Average-ish. And I'm using that a little forgiving depending on what grading system you'd like to go with. And the Packers are now paying him like kind of a little bit more of an upper end slot corner. Now, of course, part of the math with Keyshawn Nixon is kick returns, right? Back-to-back All-Pro. And with some of the kickoff rules that may be coming into effect this coming season, Keyshawn Nixon could become more effective as a returner. But my question here, and why I didn't love this, don't get me wrong, I'm not upset that Keyshawn Nixon is back. I was just really eyebrow raising at the contract itself, 3 years, $18 million, because by all accounts, it sounds like that's another year, or they're paying him so much of, hey, Keyshawn, come on back. That nickel job, guaranteedly yours again. And last year, I had an issue with the Packers just handing Nixon a full-time job, no questions asked. And it looks like they may do that again. And that is one position that I think the Packers could stand to upgrade at. Nixon has his moments. He's a leader. I'm not upset about him being back. I do, however, question the whole guaranteed, no questions asked starting job. And maybe that's going to change with the draft, but that's where I'm at with Nixon. A couple more comments here. Dan's saying, do you think Keyshawn is an expensive returner or they're starting nickelback? Both, as I was just talking about. I think his pay formula basically included both. And that's why he got paid what he did. And I will say, too, kind of like the Josh Jacobs deal being 4 years for 48, Keyshawn at 3 years, 18, it is kind of overinflated. When you really dive into what the guarantees are, they do have some outs along the way as well. Granted, on a lesser scale than Jacobs, but that formula of compensation for Keyshawn Nixon, or how they arrived at $6 million a year, really was paying him for both things. I just hope that there's some competition at nickel. That's what I'm thinking. Steve saying, what do you think about the offensive line? And then following that up with, we lost 3 offensive linemen. I think it's in better shape than a lot of panic out there right now that I see. So realistically, let's say the season starts today, right? The offensive line that you're going to roll out, especially following the release of David Bakhtiari and others going, and keep in mind too, Royce Newman now has the 5th highest cap hit on the offensive side of the ball at $3.2 million. Royce Newman. So I will see if the Packers wind up in a financial bind. He may find himself on the way out as well. But if the season started today, you're looking at a starting offensive line of Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, and then probably Sean Ryan at right guard. And that's really the question mark spot. And then Zach Tom. There are a couple free agent ways to address the question mark spot on the line. Dalton Risner is one who's still out there in free agency. He would probably not have a high value contract. And keep in mind too, just as an aside, the Packers still do have, but depending on where you look, about $20 million in available cap space. Figure the draft will take about 10 of that. So yeah, they got $10 million in playroom yet. So there is money to still make moves there if the Packers see fit. So taking a look at right guard, someone like a Dalton Risner could make sense there. Or they could, of course, hold off until the draft. I know one increasing name that's being mocked to the Packers more and more is Graham Barton, or, of course, looking at a couple of the other higher tier tackles. I think there's a lot of value for the offensive line in this draft, somewhere between rounds 2 and 4. Even looking at others, someone like Mason McCormick, Christian Mahogany, Jalen Sundle at tackle is someone who could potentially be a swing tackle. Plus, I think Caleb Jones may be a part of the depth equation. They seem to have him on the Yosh Nijman track of basically on the active roster, but never actually active, and then becoming the swing tackle the next year. It's totally possible that they're thinking that way as well. So is there a massive question mark at right guard? Yes. But if they walk into the season with the offensive line that they've got, yeah, they don't have enough depth bodies to pull it off. They certainly need depth, especially in the interior. But in terms of the starting 5, you're at least passable. And I think improvements will still be coming. Steven saying, do you see this being the last year for Kenny Clark and possibly Preston Smith? I would say it's more likely Preston Smith's last year than Kenny Clark's last year. Preston Smith continues to advance in age. I think he's going to be, off the top of my head, I think he's going to be turning 33 over the span of the next season. Kenny Clark, still only going to be turning 29 years of age. Now, he does have the highest cap number on the team right now at $27 million for the 2024 season. They may still work out another extension with Kenny Clark because, yes, it is very rare for a Packer to get to that third contract in Green Bay. This would be Kenny's third. It also is very rare for someone to be in position to get a third contract and still only be 28 years old. Kenny Clark also, on a per snap basis, was one of the most impactful interior defensive linemen in the league last year, especially in pass rush metrics. He doesn't seem to be slowing down all that much. I still think an extension could be worked out, and it may be worked out later this offseason, which could garner the Packers more cap room if they see fit. I will say, too, in case you're wondering about cap room and more free agents and all that type of deal, it is worth noting, you can take it for what it's worth. There's 2 rumors that I'm going to touch on. One was came out like last week. MJ Hurley, who's got the NFL podcast, he put out a tweet, and I know it got shared everywhere on Facebook. He said that according to his source, Micah Hyde and the Green Bay Packers were talking about a contract. Take all of these things with a grain of salt. I've been following MJ Hurley for a while. I know his podcast, at least. This is not the first time he's put out a very declarative statement. Sometimes he's been right. Sometimes he's been off. So take it for what you will. The other rumor that is out there also deals with the safety position and came to us by way of Reddit earlier today. It was posted that someone who knows someone at Justin Simmons' agency knows that the Packers have called and discussed numbers with Justin Simmons, the 4-time second-team All-Pro safety, formerly of the Denver Broncos. Now, normally when you hear just like chat room or comment type rumors, you can automatically disregard it. Reddit, however, this would not be the first time that Reddit breaks news. So I'm not going to automatically dismiss it, even if it does sound a little outlandish. Keep in mind, the first time that there was news about Devontae Adams going to Vegas, it came by way of Reddit. So this is somebody who knows somebody at an agency. The numbers have been passed between the Packers and Simmons. Take it for what you will. But maybe the Packers are talking with Hyde. Maybe they're talking with Simmons. Maybe the Packers don't like the draft class at safety, especially given that Tyler Nubin and his Raz came in at a incredibly underwhelming under 3 following his pro day and combine. So Tyler Newman is probably off the Packers board, and he was the leading candidate to be like the box safety. There are a couple others. There's Hicks. Maybe they still like Javon Bullard, Cole Bishop, Emerson. Like there's still safeties that make sense for sure. But I think the Packers, I absolutely believe they may still be sniffing around the veteran safety market. Simmons, Hyde, maybe even Blackman. formerly of the Colts. Maybe he's a candidate as well. So Rocket Knees saying Packers will go as far as Jordan Love improves. He needs help. Goody got a running back and a dang good safety. John, can't wait to see who we bring in through the draft this year. Exciting times to be a cheesehead and good times for content creators like you. Yeah, that's very much true. There is something about this era of Packers football. This last season was so incredibly fun. It was different. No matter how you feel about Aaron Rodgers, the youth that this team brought. We talked last offseason about the immaculate vibes of the Packers. They're not going anywhere. And this is a very exciting era. The Packers went and spent big in free agency. We talked even last year about how the Packers might be aiming towards 2025 as being their true contending window, and they may have accelerated that. And Good is spending like this year. The Packers are aiming to be serious contenders. Heading into this draft, they've got like the 5th most draft capital in the NFL. They've got 5 picks in the top 100. This stands a chance to be another transformative draft for the franchise. Now it's being buoyed by Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs. The times are very, very good to be a cheesehead. So thanks, everybody. I know that was a ton of stuff. I just wanted to give brief thoughts on everything. Now, come Monday, it's going to be a return to the regular schedule. So Monday, I'm probably going to be doing a mock draft roundup unless there's some kind of news along the way, just touching base with where nationally people view the Packers for mock drafts. Next Wednesday, I'll be live again. And then Friday, something recorded as well. But we are back. We are returning now to full regular content 3 times a week, maybe even 4 as we get closer and closer to the draft. And don't forget, when it does come to the draft, I will be live for every single minute of the entire draft. Every single round, every single pick. Claudia and I will be here for you. So thanks so much for everybody. Thank you so much for welcoming back into your space. I'm incredibly thankful for how the last 3 weeks have gone, both for personal health, the fact that I'm still upright, but also the fact that you stuck around. It has meant the world to me. So thank you, everybody. Do hope you enjoyed me being back. Thanks for being here. And as always, go Pack, go.